Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome along to your Rangers Rabble live at 5:30 tonight instead of 5. Few allocation issues with people coming in, so it's me on my own, and I'm waiting for a special guest to join me, who will be here very imminently. So how is everybody this evening? Seconds to spare, Lyndon. Absolutely spot on. Gee whiz. The allocation is out. So what is people's thoughts? Celtic are getting 7,500 tickets, which equates to the entire Broomloan end. I dare say that was probably expected. They were entitled to, I think it was 20% of the ticketing, so that would have been roughly about 10,200, which obviously the Broomloan isn't. But I think for all concerned, I think everybody was suspecting that would be the outcome, that it would be 7,500 tickets, and that's what indeed it is. So what is your thoughts, folks? I'll get my guest who is coming imminently to comment on that, but what is your thoughts? Are you happy with that? Are you not happy with that? Is it something that you kind of thought, well, it's going to happen? I'm of the opinion that, I don't think Rangers had not much of a say in it, because obviously they were entitled to more. So it's kind of one of these things that was going to happen. And yeah, Shona, this is something I picked up on today. Who thought the compliance offer was still kicking around? I mean, I thought that was a non-event now. I didn't even realise he was still on the go. So yeah, I was absolutely bemused when that sort of came to light. I was absolutely amazed. But yeah, I don't think anybody was kind of surprised about that allocation being given to Celtic. I can see why there's a lot of people in the camp of, no, they shouldn't have got it. There's people in the camp of, yeah, fine with that. I think that the Rangers fans who obviously sit in the Broomloan won't obviously be very best pleased, because obviously they possibly won't get tickets to it now, and that means there's less Rangers fans in. So I dare say this is going to split everybody, isn't it? It's not going to be an easy one for the Rangers fans to swallow, in the sense that there's Rangers fans who wouldn't have more than what they get currently. There's some fans that are wanting the old allocation back. I think one thing that you can guarantee is the atmosphere is going to be absolutely unbelievable. A lot of the older Rangers fans who remember the old allocation will resonate with that, in the sense that it's going to be raucous, it's going to be noisy. It's just, I think, as I said from the outset, as soon as the draw was made, I was absolutely convinced that was going to be the allocation. I was convinced it was going to be, the 7,500. The only thing I thought they might have got more, in the sense that they already get the corner, and I kind of thought they might have got more, as in the 7,500 plus the corner, so it maybe would have crept over the 8,000. But the compliance officers stepped in, and he's given the whole of Broomloan. I think it's Shona, it's, when you're asking for clarification, it's a one-off. It's purely because it's the Scottish Cup, and I think Scottish Cup rules dictate that away fans get 20% of the away allocation. So the away 20% of the stadium. So I think Celtic were entitled to just over 10,000. I think if the numbers add up correctly. So 10,000, just over 10,000, wasn't feasible for Rangers to accommodate. So that the compromise was the whole of the Broomloan. So yeah, because I dare say there's people wanting the current allocation as it is. There's people saying maybe the European allocation, but I think Rangers' hands were kind of tied, in the sense that the Scottish Cup rules dictate that it's got to be 20% of the allocation. So that is where we are. Yeah, as I say, there's going to be sides to this argument completely from both sides. There's going to be people happy, there's people not happy. I'm stuck in the middle. I kind of like the allocation as it is, but at the same time, I appreciate the old allocation and what it brought, but it's just a difficult one. I think it is too high, Gaunt. You're quite correct. The 20%, it seems seems awfully high. It's very well. In that case, if my maths are correct, I think we'd be entitled to something like 12,000 or just over 12,000 at Parkhead. So would we get that? I don't know. I really don't know. It's been a long time since we've went to been at Parkhead for a Scottish Cup tie, so I really can't comment on that. He's got something family, so I've stepped. Well, it was meant to be him and me, but he's asked me to step in the breach and host, so not a problem at all. And it looks as though possibly I am getting my special guest to join me, who is imminently coming in, and it is. If you'll just join me, Alex. There we go, folks. It's Alex. It's joining me. I thought I'd leave a nice surprise, Alex. I didn't say who's coming in, but I thought I'd leave them in the imagining who it could have been. But thanks for joining me. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. I'm good. Apologies, I'm a wee bit late, mate. Traffic is an absolute nightmare trying to get in, but I'm good. Obviously, not been on for a few days, but here we are. How's yourself, mate? You all right?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. Not bad. I mean, you obviously missed your own show last night. That was a surprise.
I did indeed. I forgot, so I didn't forget it was on. It wasn't in the schedule, so I thought we were missing a week. And then I went, oh, you're meant to be on in half an hour, so there you go. It's Martin decided not to put it on and then tell me at last minute, well, I'm not in the house that I'm meant to be on. So, it's Martin's fault.
And the comments are going nuts now because they're delighted to see you. So there you go. There you go. The love in is coming in for you. So there we go. So obviously, I've spent probably 5 minutes obviously speaking about obviously the news that broke earlier this today, probably this morning, early afternoon, that the allocation for the Scottish Cup has been confirmed, that they're getting the entire Broom Loan stand, the 7,500. I think, as I've just said in that 5 minutes that I spoke, that they were entitled to just over 10,000. If the maths are correct. I think this is probably the easiest decision that it was probably going to be the entire Broom Loan stand, wasn't it?
I think it was going to be easiest because if you try and give them 10,000, you're then cutting off even more of the stadium, and it's just not going to be possible. I suppose the biggest thing you'd have to look at, if you were to give them the whole Broom Loan and then some of the Sandy Jardine, security then becomes a massive issue, because then you're going into another stand. You're having to then look at turnstiles. And then it becomes even more of an issue for Police Scotland. I suspect that they'll probably go back to what they had before. They'll know exactly how to manage the whole Broom Loan, because all the turnstiles are just in the car park. So it's very easy to be able to access it from there. I just think that it was always going to be a higher allocation than what they've got. My thing that I think it's funny, and I spoke about this at work, they're going to have 800 one Sunday, and then the following Sunday, they're going to have 7,500. It's like, so how does that? It's so stupid that that's the way it's going to work out. 1 week for a league game, you're going to have 800 supporters. You're going to be in the corner, and then the following week, you're getting a full stand. It's funny, mate. But I think it was always going to be that the case that they were going to get the old allocation of the Broom Loan. How they managed to get that with the season ticket holders that are already there, that's a bit of a 2.5K, sorry, even not 800. It's going to be a bit of a kick in the teeth, but at the same time, it was for Scottish Cup games, you don't really have much of a say when it comes to it. There's an allocation that they're allowed, and that's what Rangers have decided, that to give them the Broom Loan. And I think it's, see, unless you're going to go to Hampden, that's the only way you can solve that, is by saying, right, here's, just take the stand, and we'll see what happens, because realistically, there's not really much else you can do, Brian.
Yeah, absolutely. As I say, as soon as the draw was made, I kind of had a sneaky suspicion it was going to be the whole Broom Loan. The only question I had was would they get the corner also? That was my only sort of thinking. Would they get the current 800 that the away fans get currently? But they've decided it's just the Broom Loan. So I dare say people in the Broom Loan will end up in that corner where the away fans normally are. Like the old allocation. It's certainly going to split fans down the middle, though, isn't it? Because there's some fans that are quite happy with the allocation that's current. There's some fans that are wanting to go back to what the Scottish Cup allocation is. it, as you just said, it's a difficult one because the club really didn't have much say in this. It's the rules are there, it's written down, and as Gallant Pioneer, pointed out earlier, that does seem quite extreme, 20%, doesn't it? Because that would we get 12,500 or 12,000 going to Parkhead? I'm not so sure.
No, because if we were to get that, we'd probably have to get I'd be lying if I could tell you what any of their stands were called, but you'd probably have to get the one that's along the touchline to get 12,500. So are we going to get that? Definitely not. Like, that's just not going to happen. So we'd probably get a stand behind one of the goals, which again is only going to be roughly about what the Broomlin is. So we're not going to get like 12,500 tickets. It's not going to happen at all. But listen, if that's going to be the case, that's going to be the case. I think the only way you solve it, and as I said, was going to be you go to Hampden, realistically, but I think because it's the stage it's at, we're still the home team, Brian. We've still got, as Gallant just said, we've still got like 42,500 fans to their 7,500. So we're still the home team there. We're going to have more in-house. It just means that there's going to be even more of an atmosphere. But a lot of people will be happy with it. But it's fully split decisions. Like, go look on Twitter, on X right now. The fan base is like 50-50 right down the middle of who wants it back and who wants it to stay at the 2.5. But when it's a Scottish Cup game, you've not really got much of a choice. No,
you really don't. And I was kind of surprised when this tie broke, because obviously everybody kind of knew the sort of implications. But it was kind of when it was proposed that the police will be deciding, that the police were like, nothing to do with us. Yeah, I was amazed at that, because I genuinely thought the police would be the first ones in the queue to say, hold on a minute, this is, we've got to allocate X amount of officers for this and that. I genuinely thought the police would be the first in the queue to sort of kibosh this, but no, they've kind of washed their hands with it and says, no, you guys deal with it, and we'll use the side between you what it's going to be, and we'll deal with the allocation as it comes.
100%. What annoyed me more was that the SPFL just went, we're not getting involved either, we'll leave it up to Rangers. Like, come on, you're the governing body. Just make a decision, and then like nobody can really complain about it at that point if they make the decision, because what they've done is they've gone, we're going to leave it to Rangers to make the decision, and if they go, you're getting 3,000 tickets. That gives Celtic an opportunity to complain. If they go, you're getting the Broomlin. It gives our fans an opportunity to complain. So what they've basically done is saying, yeah, we're not going to be the bad guys in this. We're going to leave it to the club. And it's a cop-out, Brian. That's all it is. It's a cop-out to say that we don't want to be the bad guys, even though we know they are. We don't want to be the bad guys here. We'll leave somebody else to do the dealing with it. And you've got to agree with Police Scotland. They've dealt with both allocations now, so they roughly know what amount of officers they will need. But I just think, it should have been an SPFL decision rather than just going, the club can decide.
It's probably the SFA. It's probably the SFA that Alex was referring to as washing their hands. But absolutely, I totally agree. They've just sort of decided, well, as you say, we're not going to be the bad guys. We're staying out of this. Mm-hmm. How do you think that will affect players and the fan base? So even we've been used to this Celtic fans in the corner. We've had behind pretty much both goals, all sides. Mm-hmm. To then suddenly be faced with a wall of green in that Broomloan, how do you think the players will take much notice of that, or do you think that they'll just brush that off and say, nah, we've still got the majority?
That's such a very good question. Right, next question. Now, I think that it's such a difficult one when you look at it, because they're going to be faced with both scenarios realistically, Brian, because on the game on the first in the league, they're only going to experience a very small portion of away fans, and then the week after they're going to get it. So they probably have to almost treat it like a European trip, because when you go European trips, there's more of an allocation. Look at like Dortmund, for example. They got quite a lot of tickets. They stretched into the Broomlin when they got it. A lot of these players won't be used to this atmosphere because they won't have played in a game that size. But playing at Hampden, I think, will probably set a lot of them up. The only issue is that it's so far away. When you look at it, like Hampden, the fans are so far away from the goals. But no, I don't think it'll do too much in terms of actually winding the fans up, like winding the players up or getting into their head. I do agree with Gallant as well. We went over there. I think the difference is that it's our stadium this time that it might have an impact, but Danny Rose got a full week to prepare the players for the atmosphere that it's going to be coming to, especially somebody like James Tavernier, being a captain, a lot of Old Firm games, is going to have to step up and kind of get the new guys like your Naderi, like your Romans, your Scott Wilson, ready for the atmosphere that it's going to be quite a hostile atmosphere if they go anywhere near that corner, because we've seen it time and time again. And I'm not saying it's all Celtic fans, it's not all Rangers fans, but we know stuff's going to be thrown at players. There's going to be an unbelievable amount of abuse as well. So they're just going to have to be prepared for that. But the professionals, so I think they'll deal with it all right. They just can't let that kind of atmosphere get to them. Play our game. We went there and beat them 3-1, as Gallant just said. We're at home this time. There's a lot more Rangers fans cheering them on.
Yeah. Now this is one that John Morrison's just asked, and I was thinking about this today. Will we dictate that all their fans are in the ground 2 hours before kickoff? I mean, I experienced that at Parkhead in the New Year derby. We had to be in by, I think it was 10:30, and we stood there for a couple hours. This is going to be extremely difficult for the stewards and the police to get them in, all 7,500 in by 2 hours before. So this is going to be, I think logistically, this is going to be quite tough for them, isn't it? Just to if that's the line they go down, because safe they keep sort of coming out with this line of safety and this and that. Well, it was only 2,800 of us, I think, that was at Parkhead. So how on earth are they going to get 7,500 people into Ibrox before 10:30?
Aye, so I think the game's a 2 o'clock kickoff for the cup game. So you're telling me that 1 o'clock cut, right? Okay, so they're wanting to get them all in by 11 o'clock, and then expect no Rangers fans to be anywhere near the stadium by 1 o'clock, by even like 11 o'clock. That's not going to be the case. We've obviously got more than a few Rangers pubs around the stadium as well. So to try and get them all segregated towards the Broomlin and then calling that off is going to be mental. But I do think that for the safety concern aspect of it, they probably will have to all be in 2 hours before kickoff. It's not going to be as simple as just turn up an hour before kickoff and get them in, because that's just going to incite folk to try and get involved in fights and back and forth, whatever. But then how are Police Scotland going to navigate that? Because then they're going to have officers in and out of the ground and then standing with stewards before the game. So it's going to be a very interesting one to see how it's going to be for 2 hours before the game.
It certainly is. It's going to be fascinating to see how this pans out and where, as you say, the safety lines are drawn and all this. So it's going to be, I'm just desperate to see what they do, because they were fearing for their safety when it was only 850 fans or 2,500 fans currently. So they're quite happy to come when there's 7,500 now. No safety concerns or nothing. So
no,
it's going to be very interesting. And the news that just broke recently, Alex, John Suter just signed a new 1 year extension, so that's him tied up till 2027. Now, again, this is another one that split opinions, because a lot of people were quite happy to let John Suter go in the summer, and that was, I think, a lot of people are just had enough of some of his brain farts and whatever else. But he signed a new deal. It's a year extension, so up till June 2027. What was your initial thoughts when you seen that?
A bit baffled when I first saw it, but at the same time, it's probably smart to sign him on, Bryan. In all honesty, I know that it's only a year, but when you look at how many players we're going to lose, so James Tavernier, we've not had any talks about his contract extension. You're then losing Nasser Giga, we're losing Derek Cornelius, we're losing Jaden Magoma, we're losing Max Aarons. So like 90% of our defenders are either loans or they are out of contract. So realistically, we've only got Emmanuel Fernandez, Ter Romans, and Dujon Sterling as our permanent defenders. Yes, we've got Clinton Ciala away on loan, but he's also got an option to buy away on loan at Westerlo. So realistically, it's probably a smart thing to make John Souttar a squad player, a rotational player, rather than saying you are going to be a nailed-on starter, because really he is a bomb scare, John Souttar. We've said it for a while now. They've come out and said that there's an additional year that we can give him again. I think he has to be aware that he's rotational. He can't be expecting to start. We put it in our group chat. Was that yesterday, I think? And Mr. Thompson came out with what he thought was a controversial opinion, but actually pretty much everybody agreed with it and said it's not controversial, that I'd be starting Nasser Giga and Fernandez against Livingston. I think they've looked the comfortable pairing, and John Souttar can come on as backup, rotational. If we get an injury, he's there. We know that he's got a game in him, but when you look at the game against Hearts, that header, he shouldn't be getting beat to that by Claudio Braga, and it's been mistake after mistake all season, but there's been nobody to actually take him out of the team. Now there is, and we need to be looking at that replacement. So I think it's smart from the club to sign him up to a year deal, because he knows the club. We don't need to try and get another player in to try and get them up to speed, but he needs to be rotational.
Yeah, and this probably counts towards the European aspect as well, doesn't it? You know, Scottish allocation. So there's probably that sort of equation has come into it as well. Now, as you just said, you know, Fernandez and Romans and Souttar now are pretty much the three that are going into next season. That's a good 75-80% of that defence going to get ripped up, and possibly new players coming in. That obviously after this season has finished, that's going to be the manager's first port of call, isn't it? That whole defence line, because we've only got, well, as you just said, Tab and Aarons are Tab's out of contract, Aarons is on loan, Giga's on loan, Cornelius is on loan, and Magoma's on loan. So there's five straight away. So this is a big job for the manager, isn't it? Getting this whole back line, rejigged in the summer.
Oh, it's a massive job, and I will say before I go on, Paul, I will say that it does look like I'm not giving credit to Claudio Braga. He is a phenomenal player. He's been absolutely immense for Hearts this season. He's 5'8". John Souttar shouldn't be losing that header, but he is a talent, and he's a very good talent. So he's one that I would love to see at Rangers next season. But I think when you go back to the defence, Brian, you're right. I mean, realistically, who have we got? We've got Souttar, Sterling, that can cover it, left back and centre back. We've now got Souttar on that year deal, but if he's rotational, we need to get another two centre backs in, two right backs, a left back, another 2 or 3 centre backs. So realistically, a lot of people will be going, right, maybe we need to sharpen up that midfield, maybe we need to focus on attack. I actually think Danny Rowe has done a tremendous job at strengthening both those areas. It's now the defence that's lacking. Yes, we've looked very good having the players that we've got in, but if they're on loan and they go back, we're in a bit of a pickle here, because the season will start quickly. If we don't win the league and we go into the Europa League, we've got qualifiers. If Olympiacos win the league and we've got Champions League qualifiers, our season starts pretty much as soon as the World Cup finishes. So we've not got a lot of time to actually get the recruitment going. And I think that Danny Rowe will probably have players that he's been eyeing up, but we needed to strengthen in other areas. But I will say that 100%. We had to strengthen the attack because the goals weren't there. We now look like we've done that with Ryan Nadiri, Scott Wilson. We've got good midfielders. So I think the defence is 100% a priority. Has to be that, and a goalkeeper, because by the looks of it, a lot of people aren't too comfortable with Jack Butland. I don't think we are where we are in the league if it's not for Jack Butland this season, but he is very much prone to mistake as well.
Here's a question for you. Just came in. Oh, where did it go? From Mark Daddy. Why are people talking about offering a new contract to a player that most have said is past it for 2 seasons? Definition of insanity. I dare say this is obviously aimed at a certain James Tavernier. Now, this is going to be an interesting one now, isn't it? Where I think we've all universally said that I think it is the time now for Tav to move on. I think what does the manager do? Because numbers at the back line are as you just said, not great. Now, I would hazard a guess this could cause a big stooshy if he signs on, because as Mark Dyke, is saying in the question, this is a player that we've been saying that's in the last couple of seasons certainly has lost a yard or two at least, maybe 3 yards. So this is going to be one that's going to cause a stooshy, isn't it? This is the next sort of one that we're looking at and going, right, what's happening with this one?
No, definitely. But I mean, who listens to Craig? So, right, next question. We don't let Craig in the way you go. No, he's 100% right, though. I mean, if you look at a player like Tav, he came on for Dujon Sterling against Hearts. He just doesn't look like he's got it anymore. He doesn't look like he's got the pace. Yes, he gets forward, but there's a lot of times where he gets caught and then it's relying on the centre-back partner to cover for him, or he's looking at the midfielder to cover for him. I've got a lot of respect for James Tavernier. I think he's took a lot of criticism and a lot of flack over the years for his lack of trophy haul, but I think he's been a great servant at Rangers for the past 10 plus years. But it's time to end it now. In all honesty, I think unless he's going to go into a coaching role and stay at the club as a coach, or try his hand somewhere else for another year, then I wouldn't be offering him another deal. And if we offer him another deal, is it because of who he is? Because it is James Tavernier? Because if that's another player who isn't performing to that level, they don't get played, they don't get dropped. But we're only giving this kind of conversation to Tav because he's the captain at the club, and because he's been here for so many years, and he's been with us obviously right the way through this whole journey. I just think, for me though, I don't offer him another deal, and we look elsewhere. But thank you very much for your service, and away you go. And exactly as Craig says there, shake his hand, thank him for all he's done, and say all the best if you want to keep playing. If not, we can offer you a coaching role, because I think Danny Rowe would take him onto that coaching staff in a heartbeat. I think he would. He's got a lot of experience to have, but we need to get somebody a lot younger. Now, the answer isn't Dujon Sterling, because he's so injury prone that you can't rely on him for a whole season. Max Aarons is obviously only a loan, so I don't think we'd renew that and try and get him back. So you're looking at trying to recruit 3 right backs in one window and centre backs. It's going to be a massive amount of money that's going to be spent, but that's all going to come down to where we finish the league this season.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting with regards to Sterling. It's the first season that he's been able to sort of not consistently, but stay reasonably fit. That's all I'm going to say, reasonably. Do you think with a decent pre-season in him, he might be able to stop this, injury-plagued sort of stint that he's had at Rangers?
No. I think he came to Rangers with a bit of an injury crisis before. He obviously got a very bad injury. It put him out for about 18 months, and he came back looking stronger than ever. And then he goes and crashes his car, and then he's back to then not having the greatest of times. But when he comes back in, he's such a reliable fullback. He's strong, he's quick, he puts a tackle in, he puts his body on the line. But it's like he can only do it for a couple of weeks, Bryan, and it's such a poor thing to see, because I really like Dujon Sterling. He comes in, he does his job. He was only back from an injury, and he was clearing balls off the goal line, absolutely flinging his body at it. But then he goes off and gets injured, and it's a shame to see, because I think he's got real attributes, but he's just not got the greatest knee. I think that's how he continually gets injured. I think Danny Rowe, as it's been said a few times, will look in the German market again, because he knows it. I think we're starting to fade away from looking down in the Championship, League One. Daniel will start getting his expertise of looking abroad, looking in Germany, looking in like Belgium, that we've done a few times as well, and actually start bringing in quality players. The biggest issue we've done for a few years is bringing older players and hope they can do a job. We need to start looking at younger players who are ready to just be here for a few years. Look at Emmanuel Fernandez. I think we're lucky if we keep him past next season, past the end of this season. I think we'll be lucky to do it, because he's made such an impact. But I think that Dujon Sterling's one that if he does stay injury free, he gets a whole season and he becomes one of our key players. But it's a big if for somebody like Dujon.
Certainly is. I mean, briefly, just looking forward to Sunday. There's obviously the rumours that Chermiti cannot participate in plastic pitches. I'm not sure if that is 100%. Just seen the rumours. It's going to be an interesting team line, isn't it? Because obviously we've come off a really good win against Hearts, beating the team at the top of the league. Playing the bottom of the league now, we're going from one extreme to the other. We're going from beating a team that's top to playing a team that's bottom. I think you could argue that Livingston have slightly improved in the sense that they're not as bad defensively as they has been this season. They've won one game this year. Do you see Rangers carrying on with their form and winning quite comfortably?
If we play 4-4-2, then aye, because it seems to be our best formation. We seem to be able to get players into the game, control. One of the areas we've struggled for a long time in that midfield, it just looked a lot more comfortable being able to actually play. If he can't play on a plastic pitch, then it's a bit silly because he misses 6 games a season, because we've obviously got Kelly, Falkirk and Livy that are all plastic pitches. So it'd be a bit disappointing if he can't play on that plastic pitch. Yeah, a minimum of 6 games. If it's a rumour and somebody's just trying to be on the wind up, then they've done well because folk are biting to that comment. But you hope that it's not the case, and he does. What will be interesting though, if he can't play on that plastic pitch, does Miovski get a start?
Well, you could argue that's the only other option, isn't it? Because we only have 3 strikers, unless you play Mikey Moore as in the 10 position or the false 9, right behind Miovski or Nadiri. So, I mean, I would like to see Miovski and Nadiri play, because I think Nadiri and Miovski are different in the sense that I think Nadiri likes to lead the line and he's on the shoulder of centre halves, whereas like Miovski likes to drop deep and build from there. So I think that between him and Miovski, Nadiri and Miovski, should I say, I think that could work between the two of them.
I think it definitely could, because look, Chermiti was doing the exact same thing against Hearts. He was dropping deep. He was giving the ball to Nadiri. Nadiri was showing his pace and his power to get forward, and he was able to link up with the first goal with Chermiti? Second goal with Chermiti. They dropped deep, worked a bit of a 1-2, got the ball in. So I definitely think it could be an option. I just think that we need to see a lot more from Bojan Miovski, because he's not done enough to warrant getting a start. You'd probably put someone like Mikey Moore in there because he likes that Roman role of being able to just go wherever on the pitch. And if you've got somebody like Nadiri, who we've seen it against, was it Kelly? Just put a ball over the top and he will chase it. And he definitely was chasing it. He's got the power to go for it. And Cash is right that there is obviously the SFA rule that all the pitches have to be turned to grass. But I think we could easily see that working out. I think Nadiri's going to have the quality to be able to play with any one of our forwards, because he's just a presence that we've not had for a long time. He's a tall striker that loves to put in a challenge, but he's one thing that a lot of our strikers haven't been. He's fucking rapid. He is rapid. He runs away from defenders, but he's not scared to put in that tackle. So it could be a worry for the likes of Danny Rowe, because we only have a game Sunday, that if it doesn't really work out, he's not got a lot of time. He's not got a lot of opportunity to try something midweek to see if he can get it working for the game at Ibrox on the 1st. But I think it'll work fine. We're starting to hit that very much a patch where all the players seem to know their role. We're doing it well. There's not many mistakes. Yes, there was 2 against Hearts that cost 2 goals, but in all honesty, it was two lapses of concentration that then didn't come back to affect us for the rest of the game. We put our foot on the gas and fully took the game to Hearts. And that's a team that's top of the league that have been destroying teams and coping with press, coping with going down to 10 men and not really having to do much to fight it. When Rangers got going full motion, they couldn't cope at all.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Must admit, it's going to be an interesting finish to the split. Before the split, and see where everybody is when the split sort of starts. I'm going to play a little bit of mischief here. Celtic are always away to Stuttgart tonight.
Yes.
What sort of result would you like to see tonight, in the sense that, bearing in mind, next week they go away to Stuttgart and come to us on the Sunday? So would you like to see them get a result in the sense that they'll put a good team out in Stuttgart, or would you like to just see them hump tonight and then hump next week?
No, I spoke about this at work, and I was trying to be a wind up because I worked with a few times. I've been a wind up. I want to see a one each, so they've got no opportunity to but go full strength. In Stuttgart, you want them to have to go full strength. See if they get absolutely pummeled tonight. They won't put out a team that competes over there. I know Jason's saying like a 2-0. See if they lose or lose like 2 or 3, or even lose by a goal. They won't put a strong team out over in Stuttgart. They'll accept that the game's gone. They're not going to get through, and they'll put the reserves out so that they've got a full strength team for Sunday. The issue is that they've got 10 games in 6 days, so they've got a lot of games coming up.
Well, they're currently away, home to Stuttgart, home to Hibs, away to Stuttgart, and then away to us.
Aye, so they've literally got their home and away. They're literally the back to back. So put out full strength. Couple injuries tonight. Come away with a one each, and then they've got to then go full strength on next Thursday before they come to us. And let's see if they can cope with going to extra time like we did, and then beat them in the cup.
Absolutely, and you can appreciate I was just mischieving there, so I was just absolutely. I was just fishing for that there. Absolutely. Now I believe there's something special happening later tonight on the Rabble. I'm led to believe, Alex. So I'm not at liberty to say what it is.
No, we're definitely not. Neither of us are at liberty to say, but there is something special coming later on tonight. I think is it 8 o'clock tonight? So. Keep your eyes peeled for that. But me and Bryan have been told we're not allowed to mention it. We're just telling you there is a show later on tonight.
Yes, there is a show tonight. I believe it's for the members. I'm not sure what bracket it is, if it's CEO or above. I can't remember. But it's certainly a membership one. So if you do want to join the Rabble, folks, the link is in the description below. For as little as $1.99, you can get all the member shows, all the morning shows, evening shows, the member shows on the Thompson Tuesdays. You've then got the High Tower Wednesdays. You've got all the member shows on Fridays also, but there is a show at, I believe, 8 o'clock tonight. We're both not at liberty to say, so keep your notifications on and you will see it when it arrives. So thank you very much, Alex.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate being back on me again. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you to everybody in the comments. As I say, keep your notifications peeled because there's something coming tonight, I believe, at 8 o'clock. So until then, folks, thank you for joining us, and we'll speak very, very soon.